Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Corner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Morven. I'm joined by Jose.
That's pretty.
Yep, and today we have three special guests. We have Robert and Patrick from Main Event Gear, and we have Jonathan Davenport, who is known to work with many superstars on, especially the New Day, on gears, and we're here doing a Q&A with them today. So, yeah.
First question is, when did Main Event Gear start?
He was very. Did you ask
Yeah.
him when Main Event Gear started?
Yeah, when Main Event Gear starts. Yeah.
2003. It was out of necessity to make our own wrestling gear. We was talking earlier, and I don't even know if you heard what I said. Is we done it to make our gear on the independent scene, and we didn't do it to make money, and we didn't do it for other wrestlers. We just done it for us. And people would ask us at that time, they'd be like, "Hey, will you make gear for us?" And we was like, "No, we don't do it for money."
That's quite a good story, actually. So, what wrestling companies do you make gears like for superstars?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Good enough. So when it comes to gears you've made, which superstars are normally the most creative with their designs?
Oh, well, it's going to be the other fella here.
Yeah. Okay, Jonathan, who are the most creative?
Okay, so I guess we have to qualify creative because, everybody's got something that they're trying to express or something that they're trying to get across. My whole thing is that I like to express storylines in clothing. Just so if you haven't been watching wrestling, if this is your first time tuning in, when somebody steps into the ring, you immediately intuit some backstory to what they've got. So, I do the little bits that I can to try to provide some kind of background on the character so people enjoy it, no matter what their level of experience. That said, I think when you talk about universal resonance, what themes and what jokes and what stories tend to touch people the biggest number of people, I gotta say the New Day. There's a reason they are where they are. Between the three of them, they have different sensibilities and they have different levels of penetration in pop culture. I won't get into specifics, but between the three of them, they're like a pop culture matrix of information and deep cut references that go back further than you think. And so whenever they have some idea that they want to put on their gear, there's always like a treasure trove of Easter eggs and inside jokes that we can load the gear up with. And thank God we work with Main Event and Robert and Patrick and Leanne, because they're able to actually execute these ridiculous ideas that we have, because there's no way. I've said it a million times on a million different platforms. The stuff that we push their way and the stuff that we come with absolutely cannot be done. And somehow they find a way to do it every time. So that's my answer.
So let's talk about that with the creative process also with Jonathan. It's like, of course, New Days always pushes us with what they want. Gargano always is like, when we do Garganos, it's like, what do we do next to build off of what we've done the last time? So, like when he approached us for this WrestleMania with this new, I guess you can say it's Iron Man.
Yeah, we had that debate together.
We were thinking about what is he going for with this?
I said it was the Iron Man Mark 1, and you were like, no, it's not Iron Man. I was like, it is Iron Man. But it is.
Similar to, but legally distinct from.
Yeah, kind of like the silver tin can kind of suit Iron Man had. I think that was that.
Yeah, all of them are good.
Yeah.
Props.
Yeah. Because Hody's a big Johnny fan. So.
Yeah. Plus.
If you looked at his Instagram, he posted it was like a concept photo, like of him cartooned up, and that's what he gave us to go off of. It was just that photo of the way drawn like comic book characters, and that's all he gave us.
Yeah, I see. Like what he posted.
Yeah, because that gear turned out quite well. Because Johnny always does have good gears.
Yeah.
Well, when he sent that picture, I was like, oh no, not Iron Man again. So then,
But then when you saw the colors, that's when you said, "Oh, it's something different."
yeah, exactly. It was like, okay, it's gray, so we're going to stick in the gray color schemes here. But what do we do to differentiate that from the red Iron Man vest that we did years ago, which you almost did not get to see on TV?
Yeah.
We were getting it ready to ship. Everything in the world that could possibly go wrong went wrong.
Oh no.
Putting it in the box, rivets pop off, and we're like, why is this happening? Rivets never come off. The arc reactor that we created here in the shop, the wires broke, and so we're like, oh my gosh, we're snake bit. We're not going to be able to get this out. And something else happened too. What was it? Oh, it was sewing the leather together.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the leather to stay together because the leather was so thick. But so it's like, I don't want to do a recreation of that vest and it be leather again. So we're going to actually do armor this time. And I worked on the armor by myself for 3 weeks. My sister, who's not in here, done Candace LeRae's, and she worked on that for the same amount of time, 3 weeks on hers. And that one for this NXT is what I'm talking about. And Leanne literally finished Candace's with only 30 minutes to get to the UPS to ship it. But I always go down rabbit trails when I talk about something. So I never what I was originally started. When Jonathan first started doing new stuff, they send us these concept art. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be different. And then he sends us the, I think it was SummerSlam, where it had all the different, no, it was Royal Rumble, I believe, had all the different moves that Kofi done, and the fabric had to be printed.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, I think
We're like, how are we going to do this? We can't do it here in the shop. So then I'm looking, speaking of Kofi, he's messaging me.
Whoa.
Oh no, what's he saying?
So then he, Jonathan, he's telling me about He-Man.
Ooh.
So then we're like, okay, so we've got to find a place that can print spandex. And then because I micromanage and it's horrible. So then I'm not seeing it as it's being printed. And I'm like, I don't know what we're going to get. It's going to probably get here and be super faded, or when they put it on, it's going to fade out. But oh man, the company that done it, they knocked it out of the park. It was super brilliant in the colors.
So how long normally I know certain gears would take like different amounts of time, but what's like the longest time you've ever spent on someone's gear? Yeah.
Well, the Gargano vest was 3 weeks, and that was just the vest. Patrick here knocked out his gear in like 2 days.
So, like, would you say that was the shortest time also that you've done a gear?
No.
2 days?
No. Here's your story. That would be the Kofi set for the commercial, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So about 4 weeks ago, I believe, we had to do a replica set of the New Day Rocks gear.
It's the Cricket Wireless commercial that aired in WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see the guy flying off on the helicopter, we had to make that gear. Well, they contact us late Tuesday night. And they're like, can you get it? And I was like, sure. When do you need it? Well, I know it's a rush by Thursday morning. I was like, what? And if we have the colors here in the shop, if you can get it or not. So they tell us what it is, and then Patrick and my sister's looking for all the materials, and luckily we had them. And so that was the quickest, because to make Kofi's, because we can print now in the shop to a certain size. So we printed the logos and had those done, and that usually takes a while. Printed, pressed, actually plan out all the stuff. Then on that set, there's a lot of hand painting, and so yeah, we done that in a day.
Yeah,
it's impressive. So when you think of your favorite gears that you've made for people, what's like the first one that comes to mind?
Ooh.
Is there too many?
Yeah.
Well,
And
There's-
why?
Yeah,
There's a
and why?
gears that we have that is what Jonathan just said. There's certain gears that we like for certain reasons.
Mhm.
Fandango's peacock outfit that we done for WrestleMania. What was?
I'm not sure. It was a 2013.
So when he debuted in WrestleMania, I believe.
No, it was when it was their first
were
Mardi
in-
Gras,
Yeah, they were in
Louisiana WrestleMania. And it's when he
That
with the
was
big
the big-
peacock feathers coming out like a fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I remember that.
We
It
liked
must
that one.
30 maybe.
That one because it was just we're like, how are we going to make this? So we're thinking we can look up, see how showgirls do their feathers coming out. Well, that is very, very secretive. They don't let that out. So they had to come up with our own way of making that harness so that he could wear it around his neck. So that was a challenge. Usually anything, of course, what New Day does is always going to be like, well, that's cool. Thinking, what is Jonathan thinking when he first sends it to us? And then
Mm.
I love Mortal Kombat just because I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat as a kid growing up. Jonathan did the Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, the Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat you did, yeah.
I
That
saw that on Monday.
that's a
Yeah.
fun set. Man, you guys killed that. It looks so good. I know we talked about it on text, but let me tell you in person, it's so good. I can't stop looking at it. They actually, my whole goal is to just turn everyone into action figures. So watching those guys in the ring in those suits, man, they just look like they came out of the plastic bubble wrap. I don't know what you did. It's amazing. Your materials that you pick are perfect. It's perfect. They're perfect.
Did look great. They were
Yeah.
like, so when it comes to WrestleMania, is that always the busiest time for you guys? Yeah, because I
It-
imagine you'd get and
Like a lot of
SummerSlam as well.
requests.
Yeah.
SummerSlam is busy, but usually at the first of the year. So January, we know from January till after Mania, it's going to be crazy busy because you got the Rumble. And then we try and we attempt to get everybody to get their orders in right after the Royal Rumble. That does not happen. And every year at WrestleMania, if anybody, and I'm speaking for any costume designer, the ones at the WWE, the ones that outside of WWE that create gear, we every year threaten, we're done, we're quitting, we're never doing this again.
It's tough.
So like speaking of like superstars, like who was like the first superstar that contacted you guys to do it? Like the gear.
Victoria? Is that the
No.
first?
The first ones that we done was when WWE had their developmental in Atlanta, Georgia.
Deep South.
It's called Deep South Wrestling. And we done for Mike Knox,
Yeah.
uh,
Nykerk.
Derek Nykerk, and there was another guy in that group, O'Reilly. He was in the
Ascension.
Ascension, the really tall guy.
Connor from the Ascension.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
him.
he used to be O'Reilly there. And then there's a girl then named Chantel Taylor, and that was the first female that we ever done stuff for. But it didn't go any further than that. And I got clearance to go there one day to fit a guy. And I'm about an hour away from Deep South, and MVP texts me. He's like, "Can you come back and measure me?" I was like, "Sure." So I turned around and go back because he had just debuted on SmackDown. And we started doing his stuff. And we have done his stuff for a while since then. There was a bit of a space of time from that first original outfit we did for him that he didn't use us. And then after WrestleMania 24, he has used us since. And I tell you, he's a class act. He's a good dude.
So when you see, so let's use Mania for example. When you saw the superstars you'd help with their gear come out, is it a different feeling every time, or do you still feel like amazed when you see it on like the screen?
Jonathan, do you want to answer this?
Yeah, yes, I will.
Me too.
He's the worst. The absolute worst. I get excited. I'm so happy to see these things. I think they're great. And I will message and go, hey, that came out awesome. What do you think? He's like, grumble, grumble. Jaded. I'm jaded. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Nothing affects him. His heart is cold. It's made of stone. It's emotionless.
It's
Yeah.
it is cool to see it. But after all these years of, it's just like, okay, because we know that there's still more outfits in the line that we've got to get to. So it's really, I don't think we really just get to sit back and say, oh, that was cool. Now the figures, like when they come out with figures, the ones that I see that I really like pop for is the what's the
Elites.
The Elites, when they do one of ours in the Elites, and it's all there. Like, have you seen Candace's Elite figure that they're coming out with? That's got the wings on the vest and everything.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Then I think Gargano has one also. That the
Yeah.
fan takeover.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah.
We really like.
Based from his Toronto gear.
Yes, Wolverine, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan's still the fanboy, and he's fanboy up every time.
I love it. It's really fun for me still. Robert keeps trying to ruin me, but so far I'm winning.
You're still that fan inside. Like how would you feel like if the gears made it into a video game?
I mean, that's cool too. My nephews play it, so they'll sit there, and I don't know. Like I've got two daughters. He's got two sons. So I don't think they really grasp. My daughters are 10 and 7. I mean, 9 and 7. And they're like, oh, okay. Dad does stuff for these wrestlers. And then his sons are like, okay, Dad does this stuff for these wrestlers. And then they'll be, oh, cool, look, they're wearing your outfit. Or if they see the figure, they're like, hey, look, you made that. And then I'm like, yeah. How many other dads can you say make that? They don't get excited about it. And I thought, well.
Definitely keeps us humble.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, probably when they are older, they'll get used to it.
Right.
Yeah. As
they're still
age
young.
goes on, they'll get more excited, I'd imagine.
Maybe, hope so.
Right.
Now, my youngest daughter, she is all she talks about is Alexa. Alexa, Alexa, Alexa. And constant.
She terrifies me. Alexa Bliss terrifies me. And I
The
don't.
character.
Well, yeah, the character does, and I don't know why.
The new character.
Yeah, her
Yeah.
jacket at Mania was cool though.
Well, so that wasn't new though. That was
Yeah.
she just used it. She still got that bodysuit. We're hanging in there for it to debut. It's one day. It's going to happen.
Yeah, we made that jacket when she first started transitioning into doing that character. We made that months ago, and she just now debuted it.
It was cool. I mean, she's a bit scary. Don't know why. I mean, so at WrestleMania, there was many superstars that used gears you had created. Which one out of the WrestleMania gears from this year was your favorite, and why?
The favorites this year would be Gargano and Candace, and then it had to be New Day's again.
I like
New Day
Right.
gears are the
Right.
fan favorites. Because Apollo recently had that character change. So, and I liked his gear. What was the process like for his since his character change has happened?
Jonathan?
Sure. Yeah. So I get really excited when I think about Apollo and his new character and his transformation and his newfound popularity. It's really cool because he's Robert and Patrick will attest to this. He's the nicest guy
Yes.
you'll ever meet. He's so sweet. Like he texts me like, New Day texts, but we've been together for a decade or something. But a lot of my clients, they get the they get the design, they pass it off, and then like, you don't hear from them again until it's time for another design. Just totally fine. That's the natural order of things. This guy, like, he's like, hey, how's your daughter? How old is she? What's she into? He's just very family oriented. He's very nice. He's very friendly. He's solid dude. All that to say, he was off TV for a while, and you know how it is. It's, there's an out of sight, out of mind, I think.
Like saying like, oh, like what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. And so I believe, Robert, you sent him to me, right?
I believe so.
I think you did. Yeah. And so we met, we got to know each other, and we do the usual thing where what I like to do when I get a new client is just have some conversations about what do you think is cool? What kind of things do you like? It's like you just talk about movies and shows and comics and whatever, you just get to know each other and feel out the vibe. And he didn't know where the character wanted to go. He just knew he needed a change. He needed to freshen it up. And I believe that the new angle may have been the result of a conversation between him and Big E. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's correct. So when that came down the pipe, that gave me some direction, because I've really been into this whole Afrofuturism feel lately. And I know everybody in the world just kind of goes back to the well on Black Panther a lot, but like, I think that kind of just pushed that aesthetic to the forefront and made everyone sort of understand it's commercially viable. It's like it's a thing that has, it's kind of a well that hasn't been tapped yet. So there was a lot of that influence, and I'm Mr. Research, so I did a lot of digging on like Nigerian folk art and folk songs and patterns and materials, and I tried to pull that all together into like, what would a superhero from Nigeria look like 100 years from now? So that was kind of the thought for it, because you notice when he goes out there like without the coat, it almost looks like he's wearing like a I don't know, like a NASCAR fire suit or something, like because of all the stripes on it, and it's like it's a really cool look. It's very sleek and futuristic. So that was kind of the thinking that went into it, and then of course, like I always say, what I'm doing on the screen is sort of intangible. It's like sort of nothing that I've made. So then we pass it over to the real superheroes over at Main Event, and then it's up to them to find all the materials and patterns and try to make it actually happen. So I'll pass it to you guys.
I think we can highlight on actually what Jonathan said, that when somebody new comes to him, he sits and talks to them and finds out what they like. Because I really believe, I'm glad he even said that, is that to get the gear right, you need to find out who that person is. Who are they in real life? What do they like? What do they like? Comic books? Maybe they don't. Maybe there are certain things that they just really are drawn towards. Because if you just took somebody else and put this design that Jonathan made for, say, like Apollo, on just some other guy, it's not going to fit. If you took New Day's designs and put on Apollo, it's not going to fit, because that's not who that character is, and that's not who he is. So it's just like a few years ago, New Day, when they done that with Kevin Owens, we made a pair of shorts. I don't think they've ever seen the light of TV for Kevin Owens. So it's like, this don't fit Kevin Owens. It don't go with him. But that was a one-off, and I don't think they were ever wore, were they?
No.
Only I believe like the shirt. I remember.
Yeah.
When they called him the big O.
Yeah, it's just you really find out what the people are, what do they like, and you'll find out the majority. I think it's safe to say the majority of wrestlers today all are comic book fans, somewhere, somehow.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, true.
Like you can see it obviously for Gargano.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause that's most of his gears come from comic book characters and Marvel.
It's a little bit of this might be derailing it a little bit, but it used to. Okay, here's old man Davenport talking. Where's my cane? I'm gonna shake my cane at the people in the yard. It used to mean that when you liked a comic book, when you were a comic book fan, that meant you were a very specific person. Like you read comic books and like that was your thing, and you weren't popular and you weren't cool because you were just in your room reading comics, and maybe you'd find somebody else who liked them. But now the world has been taken over by this thing. So when Robert says like, yeah, everybody's pretty much a comic book fan, that's true. But when you get into it, like when you start talking to them, you get into the weeds about it, like you could tell there's some people who are like really into it because they start doing those deep cuts and they start pulling out characters from the 70s and they're like, I want to reference that. And you're like, wow, that's not from the MCU, like on the screen that everybody knows about. I mean, I say this all the time. My mom will have a discussion with you about Nightcrawler. Like that's where we're at. Like my mom knows Kurt Wagner, so it's not as rare as it used to be. So when you say like yeah, everybody's a comic book fan, it's like, yeah, okay, yes, I suppose, but there are some out there. I guess I won't name any names, but who are like truly geek, like to their soul, and like when you're able to make something for them that plugs into that very specific gene, I think that's when you see those performances. Like, because again, we'll go back to the Mortal Kombat. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but Kofi and Woods are on fire right now. Like, and it's not like they never phone it in, but if you watch them now, like ever since they put on those, look at them. They're calling out Mortal Kombat moves in the ring while they're wrestling. Their promos have been crazy lately, and I think it's because they feel good. They say the clothes make the man. I think there's something to it.
So, that leads on to our next question. Do you think, like, wrestlers I know, like, Edge is kind of like a veteran, but do you think if he has a great gear, do you think that'll make him, like, perform better in the ring, or do the gears help them perform better, do you think?
I think it's all in the mindset. I mean, when you go out there, once you put that gear on, you become that person. So, like Kofi, the name's Kofi, but when he comes out that curtain, he's Kofi Kingston. Woods, when he comes out, then he's Xavier Woods. Behind that curtain, you're not that personality. So once you have that gear on, it's just like, I guess it's kind of like, when Clark Kent's running and he pulls his shirt and there's the S, in the movie, you get that different feeling. There's Clark Kent. The S shows and it's like, oh my God, it's Superman. I think it's something like that.
Even more to your point, when we talk about this stuff all the time. When you read interviews with Henry Cavill, he talks about like, yeah, I thought I got Superman, and then I put on the suit, and then I was like, oh, I get it. Now I understand. You stand taller. Your chest is broader. You feel, I don't know. Patrick, what's your take?
I think if the gear looks good, it can, and you feel confident about it, and when you put it on, it's going to bring that confidence out, like that you're portraying this character. Not so much that you're portraying it, but you're that character for that moment.
I think you're right. And let's talk about the philosophy of clothing in general. I mean, there's a reason we have these traditions. When you are getting married, you wear a tux because that's who you are that day. And it makes you feel like, oh, this is important. This is a ceremony. This is a thing that's moving forward. And this is a stamp in time, There's a reason that whenever a bride-to-be puts on her bridal gown for the first time in the changing room, she bursts into tears. Why is that? You're the same person. What changed? Your clothing changed. You see yourself differently. You feel differently. There's something to it.
Look at Batman. You got Bruce Wayne. He's a billionaire. Then he puts on this big rubber suit, and then he's angry. So would you be angry?
Edit this out right here.
That's a jab at Patrick because he's probably sitting here talking about Superman, and we're not talking about my man Batman. So I would be angry too if I had to run around in a rubber suit all night.
My secret, Captain.
So you a couple of days ago you posted about Trent's gear on AEW, and that was quite quite complex. How long did that take you?
3 people, me, Patrick, Leanne, and actually Patrick's son, Phoenix, which is Leanne's son too, cutting those designs for 3 days.
Wow.
All day long to get those things ready to piece together, because it's not one sheet. So on the tights, it looks like it's all one seamless pattern. They're cut out in squares. And then we're having to heat press them and everything else. It was like, oh my gosh. And I was thinking when we done those, I was like, I hope these are one-off. And I don't think they're going to be, because we really love.
So what's like we know the biggest WWE superstars you've done gears for. What about on the AEW side?
We do some stuff for MJF, Adam Page, of course, Trent and Chuck. Is that it? I believe that's all.
Because AEW has, of course, been getting more popular.
Yeah, as of late.
And some of them do have good gears. I saw the one you did for MJF, the blue one.
The trunks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was the blue trunks. Yeah. So, my last question is: Have you ever been like getting a design in, but then the person has a character change coming up? Has that ever happened?
I'm trying to think. I don't think that has happened where they've had a character change once you decide on a gear. We have had happen. You're in the process of getting their gear designed or redesigned, and they get fired.
Oh.
Or they've quit and didn't tell anyone.
Oh, who quit?
That logo?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think you're working on some stuff now, and one of them was in the releases yesterday, were they not?
Yeah, you told us that before we started recording.
Yep. Based on that person's tweets, I'd say that they're not too broken up about it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think he's too worried. Where did Jose go? He's disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just asked him, but we can just keep this going. So I just need to think of questions on the spot now. God. So when you are working on a gear, what's like the process from when you get the design?
Well, now usually when we started years ago, we didn't like people to design it and send it to us. It was like we do it all here, and then we kept taking on more and more and more. And then when you get people as talented as Jonathan is with the designs and everything, and then we try to send everybody to Jonathan. They're like, "Hey, can you design this?" We're like, "We can't, or we can, but
we won't.
Why don't you go to Jonathan? He's amazing." And then he does his magic, and once Jonathan designs it and it gets brought back to us, that's when Patrick will start laying it out. Almost every time that we do anybody's gear, there's a pattern made. We don't have, I know there's some gear makers that has just like say pattern A, B, or C, and they know that wrestler number 1 can use pattern B. Everybody has their own pattern. Like Patrick has files upon files of New Day patterns of where he's drawn everything out by hand. So all of this stuff, like we could probably auction them off and make money just off of the, like, this is SummerSlam 2019 or this is SummerSlam 2018, hand drawn onto the tights. Once Patrick has the layout of how the logos and everything will actually fit down the tights, we'll start cutting the fabrics and everything then, and laying in the layers and having the machine cut some of the logos, which now, because Jonathan gets really excited, he can do color bleeds and fades on some stuff. When he first started, like one of the first, and I don't remember what the first outfit was that he designed, that got brought to us. It had all these layers of colors and pixelated circles and everything. And I was like, oh, pump the brakes. We can't do this.
I had a lot to learn about the way things work on their end, you know, and I'd never done gear design before. I was literally when I met Woods, just the one that I met first, who sucked me into all this. He just wanted me to do some character design for an animated show he was pitching. So that was sort of more in line with my background and training. Excuse me. And then we just got along and had a lot of shorthand and a lot of similar references and things that we liked. And so he asked me to, you know, try my hand at gear design. And I never thought about what happens after I hand it in. And then one day I met this very angry man at the other end of the line. It was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I literally don't know what I'm doing. Help me. Show me what to do. So they hold my hand through a lot of things to make sure that the stuff that I design is actually doable. And I've been trained sufficiently now so that sometimes I show it to Robert first and say, possible or no? And then when I get the sign off, then show it to the client and go like, here's what we think can be done.
What's usually your answer now?
What? To what question?
You ask me, is this possible? Usually the answer is,
well, I don't know what you think the answer is that you usually say, but what you actually usually say is like, I don't know, just send it.
You don't ever say no. You say yes, and then we sit and stress about how we're going to do this. That's how it goes.
It's true. But you know, this is this team. I don't know when they rest. I don't know how they're sane. I don't know how they're as sweet as they are, because if it were me, I'd be frazzled 24/7. Look at that. Oh, look at the cherubs. Look at the cherubs from heaven.
Well, hey, you did bring up something, Jonathan. How? Because my memory is horrible. It's the worst memory in the world. How did we actually end up getting? I'm sure Kofi or Woods put us in contact. So how did we actually meet and just hit it off? Because I think once we had like our first or second conversation, me and Jonathan just hit it off. And now we're like schoolgirls talking on the phone all the time.
I remember what it was. It was the pancake gear. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because Big E, you know, they all had caricatures of themselves, like cartoons of themselves posing with different pancakes of different sizes. And E had on the back of his coat. His coat is great because it's the most canvas. Like there's the most stuff you can do with it. And there's a big picture of him like Atlas, like holding up a giant pancake. You know, it was pretty fun. And I turned that in, and I think it was a reasonable size. And he's like, bigger. I was like, okay. And he's like, bigger. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Bigger. So I just made it gigantic. And he was like, I love it. And so I turned it into Robert. And that's, I think, when we had our first phone call.
I think that's because when he sends it in, and I'm like, these pancakes stretch from the front of the jacket all the way to the back to the other side of the front. How are we going to do this? And I'm like, okay, we need to call this guy and tell him he needs to make these smaller. And then that's when he's like, no, every time I send something, he's like, make it huge. Cover the jacket. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I think when we had one of our first talks, I was actually at this zoo here in my town, Lowry Park Zoo, with my family, and we were just walking around. And I was like, oh, that's Rob, because we had texted. And I was like, oh, well, he never calls. Hello? He's like, why? Why are you doing this to me?
So I've got one last question. This is for both of you. So what's been the most difficult design, and then what's been the most difficult design to turn into a gear that you've done?
You want to go first?
What would be the most difficult that we've done? Man. I'm thinking. Anything that I would say anything like usually with Garganos, because it's so much more that we're having to do that's not just spandex. And a lot of stuff it's trial by error, and and you're learning that way. It's like, we've got to figure this out, but we have this very limited time that we have to do it. And time is really what makes it worse, because you just don't have enough of it to set and do everything. A lot of the New Day stuff. Jonathan, did you design the where they come out of the box, the cereal box? Did you design that gear?
I did the Dragon Ball Z armor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was the first thing that we ever done that was not spandex or anything like that. And that was like, I was pulling my hair out trying to figure out how do we get this and to make it look right, because I am being a perfectionist on things, the world's worst. And once you have in your head, this is the way something's got to look, then I have to stick to that. I would actually say I'm the worst, but I'm not. My sister is the absolute horrible at that. Once she sees the design, she's like, that's the design and it cannot change. And then we're like, yes, you can change it. Because anytime Jonathan gives us something, he's like, look, I know that's how I drew it, but feel free to change it. So me and Patrick's like, okay, we can change this. Patrick's like, no. I mean, Leanne will be like, no, this is the way Jonathan drew it. This is how it has to be made.
My hero.
Yeah, I think just stepping out of our comfort zone and making more so like props, like the Johnny vest and the Candace stuff is more challenging than just the gear that they wrestle in.
Makes sense. I guess for me it was, there's different aspects of what makes something difficult on my end. A lot of times it's taking a very loose idea that I'm handed and trying to find a way to express it. So in that way, probably, I don't know. There's a lot that are tough.
Can you take these shorts and make them into long ties?
That's no problem. No, it's more things like, hey, you've heard of the painter Basquiat. What if we had wrestling gear based on that? It's like,
very vague, and you got to turn it into something.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, when we got that from Jonathan, we was like, what is this? Never seen this before. And then how's it pronounced again, Jonathan?
Basquiat.
Okay, so being from Alabama, we're trying to pronounce that, and I'm like, I don't even know.
But just to say this, because I have to throw some more props their way. In terms of it being hard on me, emotionally or stressfully, the Brody gear is by far the hardest thing I've ever done. The guys just wanted to pay homage to their friend, and I didn't want to let anyone down because he was so beloved. And I only worked with him for about a month, and he was super cool to me. Pain in the ass, but fantastic and really funny. And again, another warm guy. So I really wanted to do a good job with that. So I knew I wanted to do like a mural kind of thing, but the guys had different aspects that they wanted to show off, and it sort of required different styles. So if you look at the gear, there's like a comic book version of him, and there's like a silhouette thing with him and his boys, and then there's also like a more painterly sort of profile portrait thing. So each one of those is kind of its own art project, which is already tough. And then I wanted to find a way to homage all the stages of his career, because he had had so many different looks throughout the years, and try to find a way to kind of make them gel into one. And that, it's already several levels of challenge, like, just like trying the different styles and disciplines of artwork, and then trying to gel things that were never meant to go together and put them together. And then on top of it, to try to capture his likeness. I don't know how successful I was, but I was trying my damnedest. I was watching tons of video of him and looking at tons of pictures. And, it's a real person. And the passing was very recent. And like there were several times when I had to stop and just kind of walk away from the computer because it was very hard on me, So emotionally, stressfully, like I guess all around, that was probably the hardest one.
Okay, Jose, do you have another question, the last one.
If you could ask any superstar like you haven't done gears for, who would you ask for?
Is that past and present?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In past, and this is classic that I tell anybody. I would love to have made an outfit for Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh.
Or
That
Sensational Sherry. Now, hey, I am a sensational Sherry. I met her how many times? Three or four times, and she there was a wrestling show here in the South that she was going to be at, or that she was at, that it was a buddy of mine promoting it, and he kept trying to get me to come to it, and I was like, I ain't going, I'm not going. And I got a phone call that night from him. It was my buddy Will calling me, and I was like, I am not answering the phone. I don't feel like talking. And Sherry left me a message. She's like, hi, Robert. This is Sherry Martel. And I'm like, oh, my God. And my other regret with Sherry is when she came out with Kurt Angle, if you guys remember that. This is back in 2007, so I don't know how old you are.
Oh, I was 2, so I won't remember that.
You're not going to remember this, but you can go back.
No.
When she came out.
Oh, the sexy Kurt.
Yeah, sexy Kurt. Just a sexy Kurt. We were me and Patrick was actually booked as extras that night. Is that the night that I wrestled High Night? Yeah, Memphis.
Yeah.
That's the night that I'm going to say wrestled Hide and Rock, but I did not wrestle Hide and Rock. I got a kick and a punch in, or a chop. And then the rest is history. But she asked us, like I talked throughout the day, she found out that I was just madly in love with her as a kid and still am. Invited us out to dinner that night after the show. And we didn't get to go because our drive home was 6 hours.
Oh, man.
I wasn't able to go. And we only got like maybe 2.5 hours into the drive, and we had to stop and get a hotel because I couldn't stay awake. So I was like, should have stayed, ate dinner with Sherry Martel. That's one thing I will say. I know that has nothing to do with your question, but some of the older guys,
It's a good story.
Talk to them from like the 80s and everything and hear their stories. Like I've had phone conversations with Medusa, and hearing her conversations and just talking to her, it's like, God, it's cool to hear those stories. And then when Medusa wants to wear something different, and then she wants to show some stuff, show some skin, but not show some skin. So then you're trying to figure out how much do you actually do. And then when Medusa found out that I was a fanboy for Sherry, then she goes, oh, I can tell you so much stories about Sherry, because her and Sherry was actually really good friends. And Medusa's a sweetheart too. So like, she is awesome to just, I've had numerous conversations with her.
You should have gone on that dinner, man.
You should have.
No, it's just, man, because now that would be the only wrestling story I ever tell for the rest of my life. This one time I ate lunch or dinner with Sherry Martel. Man.
It's so bad, even I regret you not going. It's terrible. Terrible.
Okay, so
final queen. Oh my God, Queen Sherry. Mm-hmm.
So final question: if you had to do a present wrestler who's still wrestling right now, and you haven't done, if you had to do any of their gears, who would you do? Who do you think would be the most interesting to do a gear for?
I would say The Fiend. I like his character.
That's a good answer.
You know what? Just so you get a little more information on these guys, Robert and I think Patrick. I don't know. Patrick and I haven't talked about this, but I know Robert is a huge Halloween guy, huge into horror and special effects. You too, Patrick?
Yes.
So I feel like if anyone out there is listening, and you're thinking about doing a horror or a monster themed character, please go to these guys, because they will destroy it. They will destroy it. You'll understand the passion. These are the kind of guys who put themselves out and like lose money just to make something cool. So this is who you need.
We've done that numerous times. To add to the whole horror thing that you're talking about, I've got you a story if you want to hear it, which is not really wrestling. So because he's got his 2 boys, I've got my 2 girls, and we are a Halloween family. It's just like we love Halloween. So about 3 years ago, Patrick and Leanne and their son goes as the Purge, and then my daughters are dressed up as bloody clowns. And here in Alabama, and I think they do it in Tampa too. Me and Jonathan's actually talked about this. They have like a trunk or treats at churches where you go and they have the cars lined up and you trick or treat at the cars. Well, it was cold this night up here, and so in this huge church up here, they set it up in their gym. So all the kids are dressed up as superheroes and princesses or unicorns. And here comes our family. And my oldest daughter has this big sword, and it's got a chunk of hair and skin hanging off it. And we're all bloody. So we walk into this church, so you can only imagine at the looks that we're getting from all these people. They're just sitting there like, what is this walking in? And we're loving every bit of it. So yeah, Halloween, oh man, we love it.
Yeah, we're real life Adams family over here.
Oh, fantastic.
That's my last question, but thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll leave everything, our links down in the description, and turn the notification bell on.
Awesome.